Welcome back everyone and thank you for tuning into VeloView. Today we are taking a ride back in time, to an era when cars were more than just machines, they were statements of style, power, and ambition. We're talking about the 1960 Oldsmobile 88, a car that sits right at the crossroads of 1950s extravagance and 1960s refinement. This was a car that embodied the optimism of America at the time, a vehicle that carried families, dreams, and an entire culture of progress along the open roads of a booming nation. So buckle up as we dive into the story, the design, the performance, and the legacy of this legendary classic. The 1960 Oldsmobile 88 was already carrying the weight of a strong reputation by the time it rolled into showrooms. Oldsmobile had introduced the 88 back in the late 1940s, and throughout the 1950s it became famous for the rocket V8 engine and its success on racetracks like NASCAR. That reputation stuck, and by 1960 the car had evolved into something bigger, more luxurious, and more sophisticated while still keeping that sense of performance under the hood. The look of the 1960 model told the story of a changing time in automotive design. The 1950s had been all about flashy fins, oversized chrome, and wild experimentation. By 1960, the industry was beginning to lean toward a sleeker, more modern style. The Oldsmobile 88 reflected that shift beautifully. It still had tailfins, but they were more squared off and restrained compared to the soaring wings of 59. The grille stretched wide across the front, holding four headlights in a way that made the car look bold and confident but not excessive. The rooflines were lower and longer, giving the car a streamlined elegance that pointed to the future. Whether you saw the two-door hardtop, the four-door sedan, or the convertible, the car carried a sense of class and presence that made it unmistakable on the road. Step inside the 1960 Oldsmobile 88 and you were greeted with a world of comfort and futuristic touches. Oldsmobile always aimed to give its drivers a feeling of luxury without reaching Cadillac prices, and the 88 was the perfect expression of that balance. The dashboard was wide and stylish, with a sweeping speedometer and chrome accents that reflected the light in just the right way. Controls were laid out for convenience, and optional equipment like air conditioning, power seats, and power windows gave the car a premium feel that many middle-class families aspired to own. The upholstery came in rich fabrics or vinyl, depending on the trim level, and the cabin was spacious enough for the whole family to stretch out comfortably. In an era when families were hitting the highways for vacations and road trips, that kind of comfort and space mattered a lot. But a car like the Oldsmobile 88 was not just about appearances or comfort. Its real magic was under the hood. The 1960 model was powered by the Rocket V8 engine, a name that had become legendary in the automotive world. That year it came in a 371 cubic inch configuration, producing anywhere from 240 to 315 horsepower depending on the setup. Paired with options like the smooth Hydra-Matic automatic transmission or the Jetaway automatic, the engine delivered strong performance with the kind of effortless acceleration that made driving a pleasure. For its size, the Olds 88 could really move, and while it wasn't marketed as a full-on performance car, it carried enough muscle to satisfy drivers who wanted more than just a comfortable cruiser. That was the genius of the 88. It gave buyers a little bit of everything: style, comfort, and speed, without leaning too heavily in one direction. On the road, the car was built for comfort above all else. The suspension was soft and forgiving, allowing the Olds to glide over rough pavement with ease. Power steering made maneuvering easier, and while the handling was far from precise by modern standards, it offered the kind of relaxed driving experience people wanted in a full-sized American car. Drum brakes on all four wheels provided stopping power, though you needed more distance than we expect today. Still, when you were cruising in a 1960 Oldsmobile 88, none of that mattered as much as the feeling of being behind the wheel of something substantial, something that commanded attention everywhere it went. What really made the Oldsmobile 88 special in 1960 was how perfectly it fit into the American market. This was a time when the middle class was growing, when families wanted cars that looked impressive in the driveway but were still within reach financially. Chevrolet offered affordability, Cadillac offered top-tier luxury, and Oldsmobile found its sweet spot right in between. It was more refined than a Chevy, more stylish than many Buicks, and much more accessible than a Cadillac. That positioning made the 88 incredibly popular. It became the kind of car that symbolized success and stability without going overboard, a car that ordinary families could be proud to own. The performance reputation of the Oldsmobile Rocket V8 also gave the 88 an edge. In the early 50s, the car had been a racing champion, and though it wasn't built for the track by 1960, that heritage still lingered in its DNA. People knew Oldsmobile engines could perform, and the 88 carried that sense of confidence. It wasn't a sports car, but it wasn't just a cushy cruiser either, it was something right in the middle, and that balance made it a classic. The 1960 model also stands out because of its timing. It represents a transitional moment in automotive history. The wild, jet-age designs of the 1950s were being toned down, and the clean, elegant lines of the 1960s were beginning to take over. The Olds 88 captured that shift perfectly. It still had the character and flair of the 50s, but it was moving toward a sleeker, more modern look that would define the decade. That's why collectors today still appreciate it so much. It embodies both eras in a way few cars can. Looking back now, the 1960 Oldsmobile 88 feels like more than just a car. It's a time capsule from an era when automobiles were symbols of freedom, prosperity, and identity. Owning one meant you had made it, that you could provide comfort for your family, and that you had a piece of cutting-edge American engineering sitting in your driveway. Today, when you see one restored and gleaming at a car show, you can feel all of that history in its lines, its chrome, and the rumble of its rocket V8. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive into the 1960 Oldsmobile 88, a car that remains a shining example of what made the golden age of American automobiles so unforgettable. If you enjoyed this journey back in time and want more stories, reviews, and insights into the world of classic cars, make sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to VeloView. There's plenty more automotive history to explore together, and I'll be here to bring it all to life for you. Until next time, keep your passion for cars alive and your engines running strong.